And a good morning to you. Manny Ford Remember with you. We have decided, pull it back around to you a little bit. There you go. Shoot the back of it out like I got mine. So it's the other way. Pull it. There you go. There you go. Now, it'll be all right. Good morning. Somebody's struggling over here because it's hot and sleepy.
I've been thrown into hell the last 2 weeks with the heat.
Oh, I can't stand it.
After a 10-year hiatus of summer doodlings.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier at 42 than it was 52.
I can't do the 52. Heat. I just can't do the heat anymore.
Dude, it's been incredible.
Just can't do the heat. Glad to have you with us. I got 78 degrees, 137% humidity. You're looking at feels like temperature this afternoon around a 103, 105 range.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why
not?
Lovely. Let's go.
Lovely weather here in North Carolina.
Let's go.
Let me get a couple things out. I got some baseball questions, and I can't answer them, so I have to ask somebody that actually knows because I don't know. Thank goodness that Dan Patrick and Cowherd's still not back. Dan Patrick is back. He took 2 weeks off because 1 week was vacation and 1 week was Tour de France, so he wasn't on the air. And then on Fox, I guess it's Fox Sports 1 where Cowherd normally is, it's been whatever the soccer thing's called. The World Cup soccer something, I don't know. But anyway, that's where they have been. And so Dan Patrick was back yesterday, and they got on a topic that I'm curious about. And you'll know more about this than I do. Baseball Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. There used to be certain criteria to get into the Hall of Fame, by position, things that you had to do. Football was another one. Mm-hmm. That's why it's hard to get a football running back in the Hall of Fame because it used to be you need at least 10,000 yards in rushing to get there. Now, because teams don't do that, it's harder. Baseball's another one. There were certain requirements if you were a pitcher that you needed to kind of meet over your career to get into the Hall of Fame. And now it doesn't happen because pitchers don't pitch long enough in a game.
Right, so they condense the amount of innings they throw or allowed to throw. Used to a guy like you're pitching tonight. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, well, so-and-so come in relief.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's you are pitching tonight. And so when those guys would throw, say, in 7, 8, 9, hitters could take more advantage of that because they've seen things, 4 or 5 times now, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, whatever. Now, you about face a different pitcher, about 4 different arms, sometimes 5 in a game. So the hitting criteria and pitching criteria, because of the way the game has changed, you're no longer going to see, the numbers that you saw. And that's why hitters today are so great, because they face a multitude of arms. Now, it didn't mean hitters that played back in the day were not great hitters. They were in their time. But it's the point of being able to not argue this. Nobody faced 92, 94, 96, 97, 101 every time they went to the plate. They faced a guy that threw this and he pitched the whole game. Now, does that make what they did any less of accomplishment? No, it's just different. And to be able to understand that is what makes things great.
Should there be specific markers or criteria to make a Hall of Fame? Because the game evolves.
That's the problem. So you have to use common sense.
Right.
And unfortunately, that a lot of times can be left up to interpretation, especially in today's world when they're trying to tell you that blue is really red and red is really, green. There's so much skewed to, what people want to make their truth instead of what is the truth.
Right.
And so it makes things very skewed. So you have to have people in positions that have common sense. The things that I go back to that, as far as baseball goes, that just upset me terribly is the changing of the Cleveland Indians to the Guardians.
Right.
things like this. All these things because of perceived. Perceptions of what are out there
right.
are not really the reality, and that's what's happening in trying to figure out who gets in and who doesn't. I mean, there's always going to be people that you feel are left out of a Hall of Fame that should be there and probably will get there, but they're left out. Well, if so-and-so got in, how did he not get in? That's okay. Those are arguable points. But the one thing that's not arguable is both sports that you mentioned, the games have changed drastically. Drastically. In running back, pitchers and hitters.
Yep.
Those are the three main ones. The other stuff in football really hadn't changed. When there's a great offensive lineman, Laney, people are going to see it.
Oh yeah. Did you watch? There's a kid that made the All-Star game. That he just pitched for LSU.
Yeah.
And he's only thrown who?
Skeens.
Okay, I had forgotten the name, but he's only thrown 53, 55 innings this year.
They're incredible innings.
Right, and that's what they were saying. But what has happened,
all-star innings for sure.
If you had some fans that were kind of new to baseball, and they go back and they look at Greg Maddux, for example, because he wasn't but maybe a 90, 91.
He's a pitcher.
But he could pitch.
He
didn't throw.
He's a pitcher.
He's pitched. Yeah. And now the other topic that they were making is when major league teams draft a pitcher, they're already considering that it's going to be a reality that this kid will have to have Tommy John because they throw so hard. They're throwers, not pitchers.
Right.
And they're already figuring that in. And even parents, going back to high school kids, are figuring that in. And Tommy John's has become such a routine surgery.
It is.
But is it a once fixed, always fixed, or can you go through it again?
Well, you go through a second one of those, things are a little different, okay? But when they go in and fix it, you're actually stronger than you were before because of the reattachment. Now, this goes into, and I'm not opening up Pandora's box, I'm just saying this goes into the thing about, well, it's modern medicine, and you had surgery, and now it makes you better. Well, somebody may say, well, I had to take growth hormone to improve my recovery time. So when we're really getting into this, you really get down to the weeds. You're talking about contacts for eyes, taking medicines or substances that help you regain your strength and health. And then you look at surgery. Are all of those enhancements when it comes down to it?
There was a discussion at one time when the steroid thing and the growth hormones were kind of a big topic in the NFL. One of the players that was always mentioned that had taken them, never got caught, but he was taking them different, and that was Peyton Manning for rehabilitation and to get better faster, not to get better at what he did, but to help his body heal.
Yeah, get back
faster.
to doing what he did.
Yeah, and so sometimes I guess it kind of gets skewed a little bit. And
let me tell you what gets skewed too. Because a couple of years ago, Tua, had some head injuries.
Yeah,
there are people on like the morning news, Sports Center. Again, I'm not going to say sport. Let's just say maybe some channels like an ESPN. He needs to quit. The NFL needs to step in. It's about his health.
It's about him. It's his decision.
That's what I'm saying. We got on this tangent that all of a sudden we just took ownership of everything and everybody instead of worrying about what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're going around tearing down this, tearing down that, painting this, painting that.
Yep.
And the bottom line is occurrences in the past sometimes are celebrated, sometimes are not. But that's how we learn. And if you erase all those things and they're forgotten, then things tend to repeat themselves.
Yeah.
If my dad is whipping my rear end with a black belt and all of a sudden that black belt goes away, there may be some time that goes by and I'm like, nah, black belt's gone. I can go back doing what I want to do.
Yep.
That is not the case. My dad had that black belt on every day.
Yep.
And it had the 2 prongs that went in.
Yep.
Not 1.
Yep.
2.
Yep.
Okay.
My dad wore one of those thin belts.
This whole thing about, well, my feelings this and
But
I'm that. It's filtered into sports, and it made it awful for like 2 or 3 years because that's all anybody wanted to. Well, I stand for the. I mean, we all know what.
Right.
We already know these things.
But here's the thing. This is the thing. You can't do it inside of one sport and not do it in all the sports if you're going to say, okay, this should be outlawed or this person shouldn't be able. If you did that, there would be no NASCAR. There would be no NHRA. There'd be no Indy. I mean, because those guys, they are risking their life every time they compete, period.
100%.
And they can have absolutely nothing wrong with them. But
locally, they're risking their life when they race. It doesn't matter where you're racing.
That's correct.
You're putting it on the line.
And that's why I'm saying that, I understand if you've got someone, because race car drivers will do the same thing. If you've had an accident and you've been deemed to have had a concussion, they will hold you out until they feel like the concussion symptoms are gone.
They have protocols.
Right. And they have protocols in the league, in all the leagues, but they want to go on top of that.
Right, Lanny, the thing is, when you're driving that fast, they have to make sure you're
That's
okay
right.
because it's not about you.
The others around you.
You're going to kill somebody, or say you're going to. You have the potential to hurt someone or, kill somebody around you if you're not 100%. And I say 100%, if you're not cleared to do what you do. In football and in other sports, you might get somebody else hurt. But, if your mind's a little messed up or whatever, and you know that, and you still have to go out and provide and work.
Well, it was one of those things that came up that I wasn't sure of. Because I don't know kind of the ins and outs of Major League Baseball and kind of the quote-unquote criteria that you need to get elected.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's about stats.
But it's also skewed because, things in societal norms, things do evolve and change. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Yeah. But you have to stick with principles and things that are true, where a value-based system – ISIS has values, okay? So principles and the like have to be the truths that you are led with in your decision-making. With all these people calling for Tua to quit, I would like for all of them to start a fund so they can send him a monthly check for the rest of his life. Right. Then all of a sudden, well, I'm not taking my money and doing that. I'm just saying that
nobody needs it.
No. Now, you can make a comment on, hey, man, it looked like you may have got hurt. We'll see. We'll keep you informed. He's a great player, da-da-da-da-da. No, he's got to stop now.
Yeah.
This is, I'm Mr. and Ms. Nobility, and I'm doing this. Well, I'll tell you what, you start a fund, or why don't you start giving some of your check each month to him and his family?
Nope.
That'll shut that up real quick.
That's the way that is. That's the way that is.
You always want to take from somebody else till you're the one that's got to be doing it. Then the idea is not so good.
That's right.
Sound familiar?
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, going back to baseball and kind of where things are, it seems like there's still a pretty big divide between the haves and the have-nots.
There's a real big divide.
And when you've got a season as long as it is, and you're almost practically mathematically eliminated by the All-Star game.
Yeah, by a certain day, yeah.
And there needs to be something done or corrected. Now, it's not always that way, and there's some teams that are kind of up on the top that are still got some 50-plus game winners already into the season, and that it does make a difference. But I don't know how you fix that. I don't know that it can be fixed.
Well, the problem is people have to play for their jobs. It's not just about the team at that point.
Somebody else may pick them up.
Because the team is not doing very well.
Right.
Well, what's going to happen is they're playing for a job, and where they're playing.
That's what happens to a lot of NFL players at the end of the season. They're playing for a job.
They are. They're auditioning.
Yeah, that's right.
Look at me. I mean, they have to. That's their career. They want to win because that's what got them there.
Yep.
The ones that play consistently, not just get there, but the ones that are actually playing. They're competitive, and they want to win. and do the best they can do to provide for, not only themselves but the team they're playing for. It's when the organization that takes them doesn't fully invest in the best atmosphere or the best environment, or they have so-and-so hired because it made everybody feel good instead of, somebody like a Bill Belichick coming in, hurting everybody's feelings but winning games, or turning a program, turning the franchise around. This is where things are skewed. So when there's a lot of confusion like that, they have to start playing now for themselves so they can stay in the league.
Right.
So that's kind of where things are with that too. And it's a little different in the NBA when they talk about teams dumping or throwing or whatever.
Yeah.
They've got things set in place where if they're a halfway decent NBA player, it's hard for them to be out of the league.
That's right. Let me take our first break. We come back, update you on tragic news inside the NFL that actually affected a local team. Back in a moment.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver, or visit mooneyinsurance.com.
At Stifel Nicholas, we're committed to offering investors personalized investment guidance. We're a full-service organization with departments staffed with professionals that specialize in a wide range of investment opportunities, from the most conservative to the most aggressive. We strive to give each account, regardless of size, careful, individual attention. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC and the New York Stock Exchange.
And welcome back.
But that was a great series, by the way.
Catch us up, because you're involved with American Legion of Baseball before I do the NFL story. Cherryl has now been eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah, last night by Union.
But
4-2.
my understanding, just hearing Mike and David and them talk about it, Union is one of the top teams in the Area 4.
Yeah, they are. They're really good.
As well as Shelby and Rutherford are
Yeah.
because they've got a lot of state championship type kids,
do.
high school kids.
They do,
playing.
and I will tell you that the Gaston Braves are right
Yeah.
in there with them. So, Shelby, Rutherford, Cherville, Union County, and Gaston, and even Asheville, pretty close. I think Shelby and Rutherford were slightly ahead, but I've got to tell you that I believe Union County, they don't use all these high schools, but they have 9 public high schools in that county. Now, they don't have a player from every team, okay? But they also get West Stanley, and they've got a kid that plays for them from there. But all their kids on their team are going.
Who directs and controls what the draw area is from? The Legion?
national.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have the standard rules for everywhere across the United States, and it's 7,500. So you can pick from a school, and as long as your total enrollment doesn't go above 7,500, it used to be 5,000. But it needed to be raised because our population is increasing, and they need more quality of teams instead of more quantity of teams. They went through this thing about 10, 11 years ago that really, got me frustrated with it.
An American Legion team is not cheap to operate. Number of games, travel, all those kind of things.
In theory, and what happened was,
to have a lot of them instead of having.
Well, no, you're right, and the problem is, we're going to have teams everywhere. We want everybody playing. Well, the problem is for a year or two, you have the older players playing, but then when those dads that got pissed, when those kids were sophomores and juniors that got cut from another team, so they went out and formed their own. When they're gone, then all of a sudden you're trying to backfill it with 8th and 9th graders and 10th graders, and you're playing against a team like Cherville or Hickory that's got college kids and high school seniors. They're eligible college kids. You can't turn 20 in the year, as long as you're 19 in the year that you're playing. That's the eligibility.
Not the season, the year.
Right, the whole year. It used to be seasonal based with August 1st being the cutoff. If you're 19 after August 1st, then you're eligible. Now you can be 19 anytime, which is a good thing. They needed to up the quality of the league with returning players or even older players, maybe that didn't go play college ball, but were still really good players, right? And so what I've seen is the very thing that upset me so bad 10, 11 years ago, and when I told him, I said, I'm not doing this. I'm not, putting together just a half-baked team here because of Pickens, because we got a team here that's 5 miles away and a team over. So I'm not doing that. Yeah, y'all, that's great. Good luck. Go get it. I'm out. Well, what's happened is, to answer your question about Union and other counties, is they're going back to a county or a heavily populated area with 7 or 8 schools around. And so what's happening is great players want to play together. It's not the kids don't want to play ball anymore. Kids don't want bull. Well, I can't say that on there. Kids want quality and value. They don't want a bunch of BS. Okay. And so what I've seen this year with Legion baseball is we faced a college arm every night, which very rarely, I say every night, I would say 9 out of 10 nights, which was not happening when they put a team in every little town, All right. And the quality of the game is so much better. And what's happening is when the kids are playing, they're now playing baseball instead of just going out there and letting dad coach the team over here. And it's competitive. It's blood and guts. It is like things are coming around the way they used to be. The only thing I don't like now that they do is they play 7 innings instead of 9. Because what happens is when you play 7 innings, you can have a really good pitcher, and they got pitch counts of 105 as a max you can go, or you can finish that batter, but you got to come out, right? When you play 9 innings, nobody's going to 105 pitches unless you're Greg Maddux, right? And there's no more of those. Right. So that makes you have a bullpen. Well, now it makes you have a staff, right? Because the games really won American Legion back in the day in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. You can do anything you want to in 1 through 6. Nobody cared. Nobody got upset. You down 8, and I don't care. You're up 10. You're like, well, we're up 10. We got to watch out here. It's not that case when you're playing 7 because that one bullet arm you got can finish the game. But team-wise, I don't know if it gets the best team in the long run there, but they did that at National because the games were lasting too long according to what I've been told. I don't
I can tell you they did when we broadcast.
Well, it's because they let them go out there and walk on and off the field, or throw this many pitches, but take 10 minutes to do it. No, you're on the clock. You got a minute and 20 seconds to get on and off the field, get your warm up in, get your ass off the field, or get back on, and we're ready to play. A lot of that can be controlled by people, setting standards and expectation on what can be done. So they have nobody to blame but themselves.
Right.
And did the games last long? Well, yeah, but so does golf.
Yeah.
My ideal golf scenario, and you and I have talked about this, is to play 12 holes.
Yeah.
9's not enough, and 18's too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't have enough time in a day.
That's
like
the
you and
biggest
I
thing.
would play.
It's a half a day.
Let's be honest. All right. We got a lot of friends out here, or, people that watch, whatever, that, you and I would play golf together probably 3 to 4 days a week. And probably, Quinn would come out, or, Gary, or whatever, Andrew, if we could play 12 holes.
Because I could get it done in a little over 2 hours.
That's what I'm saying. And you just play. Instead of 18, wait on so-and-so up there that wants to squat down 42 times and look at his putt and watch him miss it 7 times. Right. I'm sorry. I don't have enough time to
you're right.
You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot.
That's where I think, just kind of going down a rabbit hole, that's where I think some of these simulator sessions, because it doesn't take the time. You can play 18 holes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take that kind of time.
Oh, you go an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah. But you're getting the swings in. Right. You're getting the shots in that you want.
And you're playing Pebble Beach.
Yeah. And you can pick anything that you want to play. But, that's where I think those type things and technology is going to improve it because of that. Technology is going to let you do that to give you back some of your time, but yet still enjoy what you want to do.
Well, the technology, those golf balls that won't slice, has been really good too. We're down to peace. Steven's like, "Hey, Coach Herbert, I got you something here, buddy." I'm like, "Let me see that thing." I hit up like, "Wow, this golf ball's great." He's like, "Yes, I know sliced ball."
Danny, good morning. Junior Adams, good morning. Wayne Ward, he's even joining us on vacation this week.
All right.
The NFL story I was going to tell you about, and I saw some things come down on Twitter, and I couldn't make the connection until I went and actually looked it up. This was a couple of days ago. Minnesota Viking rookie cornerback Kyrie Jackson and 2 former college players were killed in a car crash.
So awful.
In Prince George County in Maryland. Happened like 3 o'clock in the morning Saturday night. The connection locally is a kid named Isaiah Hazel, because he had played at Maryland and then played for the 49ers and was a starter. The other kid was Anthony Litton. All of these 3 were high school teammates.
Yeah, that's so sad.
And Hazel played, as I said, 23, played at Maryland and Charlotte. Litton played at Florida State and Penn State. Police say Hazel was the driver of a Dodge Charger with Jackson in the passenger seat when their car was struck by an Infiniti Q50 attempting to change lanes at a high speed. Charger left the road, struck multiple tree stumps. According to police, Jackson and Hazel were pronounced at the scene. Litton was transported and then pronounced at the hospital. The driver of the Infiniti Q50, nor her 2 passengers, or the driver of a third vehicle were injured. Investigators believe alcohol may have played a role in the crash. They're still investigating. It is an active and ongoing investigation. But the Jackson kid was what ties it to the NFL, was selected by the Vikings in the 4th round in this year's draft, and considered to be a contender to actually start at corner. Now, the other thing that, the first thing that pops in my mind when I see something like this, and you may not remember it just because of age, but was the tragic passing of Lynn Bias.
Oh, yeah, I remember it very well. I had a poster up
I remember when it got announced that morning, I was like in shock.
That had him dunking the ball saying, "I'm Bias, Maryland's number 1." If you followed –
well, I was a big Lefty fan.
No, oh, yeah.
All this happened, and I think Lefty –
he never was the same.
He wasn't, but I think a lot of people kind of held him responsible when they shouldn't because it happened on his watch. Because and the bad part of this one, this was the night of the draft when he had just gotten drafted by the Celtics.
Yeah.
And
imagine that dynasty with him and Bird being able to coach, because he was such a fine young man. Now, and the thing about, but he did it. Listen, we all have issues, okay? Sometimes they're just a little different. Sometimes they're heightened. When you're that young, you have no life experience and very little. Yeah, but he played in ACC. Listen.
Back when the ACC was something.
Yeah, and he was just a phenomenal. It was so different. He could shoot. He could defend. He sure as world could dunk. Generational.
That absolutely.
Good. And to have him and Jordan in the league.
Yeah.
You say relatively during the same period. And what was to become of that? Mm-hmm. Let me tell you something. Things in Chicago may have been a little different.
That's right.
Okay?
I agree.
It may have altered the way things went down in the NBA. Not saying that the Celtics would have kept the Bulls from winning, but who maybe the order of the way people were drafted or who was looked at would have been different. And we all know Scotty wasn't with Mike.
Yeah.
Things could have been drastically
exactly
different.
Right.
And Bias was that player. To me, who is the only person that you can think of in that period? And there may be one or two, but the one that you would think of that could defend him would be Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
He was that. It's like Sean Kemp, except Kemp was a little more
He was all arms and legs.
A little more dynamic and this like away from the basket. But make no mistake about it, Bias is probably one of the truest number one picks ever.
Yeah.
Like that is a slam dunk.
Yep.
No pun intended.
Based on his abilities and what you've
he
seen.
made the ACC so exciting to watch. Cause it didn't matter if you pulled for Clemson, State, Carolina, Duke. When Maryland was on TV and that son of a gun was playing.
Yep.
God.
And I got to go back and look it up. I couldn't remember if it was 84, 86, but it was 86.
Yeah.
He passed away in 86. But, yeah, there's been so many things because last November, Len Bias would have turned 60. And when they think about it, what an impact he would have made. But first round, number 2 pick. From the NBA draft.
Yeah, I mean there's never been a slam dunk. I say number 1. I'm talking about first round. A slam dunk. People say, yeah, but who was taken first that year? Mm-hmm. Let me tell you something. I guarantee you. I can't say that, but I bet you anything that wouldn't been as impactful as. It's kind of like Jordan going third. Just because you're not number 1 doesn't mean you aren't number 1. Okay.
Ask Tom Brady. He'll tell you.
Yeah.
Now, the other story, Pittsburgh Steelers cornerback Cameron Sutton been suspended 8 games by the league for violating NFL personal conduct policy. Yeah. He won't be eligible to return October 29th, which is the Week 8 game against the Giants. Yeah. He's 29 years old. Entered a pre-tree diversion program in April to resolve a domestic violence case, according to court records. He had been charged with misdemeanor battery after he turned himself in to Hillsborough County Police or Sheriff's Department in Florida on March 31st after being wanted for weeks by the police. It may have been different had he handled that situation a little bit. I don't know. And Sutton is not appealing the punishment. He was with the Lions at the time of his arrest, but Detroit released him after learning of the warrant for his arrest. At the time, he is on a 1 year. He was year 1 of a 3-year, $33 million deal. Started every game in his lone season in Detroit. 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, and 50 tackles. Mm-hmm. And then he signed a 1-year contract with the Steelers. Right. And I'm okay with that. I like it when they can be kind of consistent. Sometimes I don't think the league is consistent in what they do, and I think that's what makes it what gives credibility to what they're trying to do and accomplish is if they've got consistency. Well, if they don't have consistency, it's hard to take them serious on what they're doing.
And that's true. And, you think about the, Ohtani gambling thing. It was all about this, and all of a sudden it just went away. Mm-hmm. Well, his so-and-so did this, and, he's not. But then we have a player, I think, in the NBA, and then all of a sudden, he's banned for life, and he can't do that. And I'm not saying either one is guilty or innocent because I don't know all the stuff. But what I do know is this. if it serves the purpose or the narrative of the time, it's put to the forefront or it's taken away at the back burner. It's not consistent across the board. That's why they had to have Landis come into baseball because of all the stuff that was going on.
Well, let me ask you this, and what you're talking about inside the Major League Baseball that's happening now, how should now that the whole what am I trying to say? The whole functionality of gambling, sports betting, has changed now.
Yep.
Because it's available.
Correct.
Readily available.
And it's legal.
And it's legal.
Right.
That's the point.
Right.
How should leagues handle it and deal with it so that it doesn't interfere with the game? There's been an umpire that was a really, really good umpire that's not been in this season because of gambling. I don't know if they found anything on Major League Baseball with him gambling, but the I guess the perception is there. How should they address it now that it's a legal above board type thing? How would you address it?
Well, I mean, you have to have a zero tolerance policy. There's no exceptions, and there, again, that's why Landis at that time came in, and they had to clean up baseball. Now, did it take it all out of it? I don't think any of us can really say that, but it cleaned up the game overnight because he took the most popular, best team, and basically, well, he did. He put them out.
Right.
He put them out. If you knew anything about it, you're gone.
Yep.
So he brought a level of accountability in. How do you handle it today? I mean, up is down, right? I mean, what do you do? Yeah, it's like, everybody, well, there's a reason I did this. Well, there's a reason for this. Well, I can't do that because of this, or it's so-and-so's fault. I mean,
but I guess what I'm saying,
you go with that. That's why there's so much chaos, because there's nothing led in truth. It's all led in perception of this over here and that.
But what I'm getting at is, how do you have a zero tolerance of no gambling, period?
Right.
No gambling on your sport. How would you approach it?
Well, I think like any corporation or organization, for example, let's without going into the financial world, let's maybe talk about that. So let's say you're an advisor with firm A over here. You're not allowed to go work on behalf of firm B or anything about that. I can't, one can't have any dealings,
right,
except through contracts that are made between, companies, and everything has to be legal and in the lines before it's done. I can't go outside the line and say, well, so-and-so told me that, and it's not my fault. Or I didn't know. Well, now you do. You're fired. Get out.
Right.
That kind of thing. I mean, where do you go with that? Sports is put on a different pedestal, and I don't mean higher than other things, which most of the time it is, but a different pedestal because of the visibility
and the amount of money.
Right, that's what I'm saying, and therefore it's different. And so you either have to be 100%, against the wall, or you've got to have a case-by-case scenario, which then brings a lot of scrutiny and a lot of questions about, hey, really what's going on here?
Based on,
it's a goose gander type thing.
When you go back and you look at some of the, I guess, tragic is probably not the right word. It's a little too strong. But you look at some of the things that happen, and you always go back to the Black Sox scandal and how that played into it.
Changed things dynamically.
So to me, I think it should be, if you are involved in sports, if you're getting paid, whether it's a player or official or whatever, because of the amount of money and the integrity that needs to be perceived and kept up with from the money from gambling that goes through, it should be a zero tolerance that you can't bet on sports as long as you're active in the league.
Well, and I got to tell you, that would be something that I would draw up, because I would be the guy that come in and said, look, this is the way we're doing it. I really appreciate.
So there's no doubt in anybody's mind.
I really appreciate your feelings on everything and your thoughts. That's all great, but this is a dictatorship, and this is what we're doing. And even though you give the perception that you really don't care what people think, feel, and say, you really do, but you have to cut through all the fluff so clarity comes to the forefront so people have a true understanding of positioning. That way they can make the decision whether to break the rule or not, and not say, well, I might be able to get by with it, right? Because there's clarity there. Okay, he says he's 0, no tolerance of anything at all. This is the way we're going to do it. Well, yeah, but I had this circumstance come up. Sorry.
No.
You're gone.
No.
Move it up, okay? That's what has to happen, and now you'll have a lot of people come in that want to bring in the heartstrings and say, yeah, but he had this situation come up, had some bad information. What's the one thing it revolves around? That person. Did they make the decision? Yes or no?
Whether it's bad information or good information.
Yeah, well, I didn't know.
And let me go on record. I'm not against the gambling. That's not it.
That's not what you're talking about.
But I am against players that are participants in things that can be bet on, regardless, shouldn't be allowed to do it.
Well, I know this. I just know when things aren't tough enough, all right, and standards aren't set and expectations aren't set, then I know things get a little chaotic. And I also know things get a little chaotic when people are in charge of things that go overboard with it as well, okay? Interpretation of the rules instead of the rules reading this and doing this. I used to see that in American Legion Baseball all the time. Well, this is the rule. If you get ejected, you got to sit out the next game. Well, so-and-so didn't really mean to do that, and they were out of character, so I'm going to let them coach the next game.
No.
Or this player throws the bat halfway up the backstop after striking out and in the inning, gets tossed, and their commissioner comes on the next day and calls me the next day and says, well, I'm going to let that kid come back and play, not on my team, on another team, because that was out of character for him. I said, hell, anything we do sometimes is out of character.
Yeah.
That's why we have standards set.
When you don't follow standards like that, I think you attack the integrity of whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, you call the integrity into it, and then that's where you start to have a problem. So I don't have a problem with them doing some of the things that they're doing. I just wish they would be consistent, and I think it needs to be a zero tolerance.
100%. And the problem is with that is there's so much that goes on, and then you say, well, yeah, but that's getting into my personal life. I should be able to bet on this and do that and do this. Well, I appreciate you letting me know what you think and feel you should do, but this is what we are doing.
And I'll give you another example, and I may be on. And Robert Wans, pronounce his last name, W-A-N-S-K.
Wansker. Bob, yeah.
Bob's going to ask you a question.
Is Bob on?
Yeah, he's going to ask you a question. Just a minute.
Truly great American.
He's going to ask you a question.
He's an amazing,
now,
truly great American.
Here's the thing with me is you've got to be able to. When I think of athletes, and the first person that comes to mind is Charles Barkley, because when he was playing, there was an incident that happened where he said, "I am not a role model. I didn't sign up to be a role model." Yeah. And I've always said, if you're an athlete or you're a celebrity, if you're taking the check, there's going to be certain things that you're going to need to live up to. And if you don't want to do that, then you can't take the check. Nobody signed up to be role models, but the indirect effect is you are.
Well,
and we can't change that.
No, it's about doing the right thing for right reason. I think what he's trying to do, or at that time is set expectation of what his perception was of what he was doing. You certainly have a very good point about, you're in the spotlight, regardless of whether you want to be one.
And you affect more people than just your team, your franchise, your teammates, everything.
Right. I think he was smart. Charles Barkley's incredibly intelligent. Yeah, a lot of people say, yeah, but look at some of the words. Let me tell you something. The way that someone speaks is not directly.
Look at Tiger.
In proportion to the intelligence, because it's a way of communication. It doesn't say that, well, you talk like this, that means you're intelligent or not. That's kind of a misperception. It's kind of like saying, well, yeah, but I have a degree in this, and I'm, this, that, and the other. There was a study done in a setting that had someone that never graduated from high school, that had their own business, a high school graduate, someone that went to college that never graduated, 2-year associate's degree, master's degree, and doctorate. And they lined them all up, and the person that had the master's degree and the doctorate said, well, they asked you, who were you smarter than in this room? They just looked around and said, Well, that guy never went to school, so I'm smart. They ended up having the two lowest IQs of the other,
Yes.
6 or 7 people, the ones that finished. So, it's the ability to understand and to decipher and to make good decisions. That doesn't mean that you're not very good in the area that you're in, but that doesn't make you overall smarter than and now we run into that in this country too.
Now, I'm going to give you, talking about that, I'm going to give you Bob's question.
All right.
Should baseball reinstate Pete Rose?
Yes, right now, and he should go in the Hall of Fame. This is absolutely ridiculous. We got people that snort cocaine, do crack, go over here and, do these awful things, assault, battery, all these things. They're allowed to be in the Hall of Fame. Well, what a great player. Guy goes in, not only a player, a manager player, but, also is betting, which was illegal, okay? But you have all these other criteria that are out there. Say, but that's not against the rules, going out and snorting cocaine and, doing all these horrible things. That's not against the rules. Listen, where are we and what are we talking about? What are we talking about?
I agree. The only
you
thing.
never bet against this team to lose.
And from what I understand, and here's the thing, based on his performance on the field, okay, statistically, there was nothing in the gambling, even though it was off limits. There was nothing in that improved his performance on the field.
Or made it worse.
Right.
There was nothing. If anything, it made it better because he was trying to do everything he could to win the game.
I'm going to piggyback on that question.
Yeah.
Should players from the steroid age be in the Hall of Fame?
Of course. It went against the rules.
That's my point. You can't go back and say, well, this is where we stand now, but you didn't stand that way. And for me, and I've said this over and over, the leagues basically turned their head because it was benefiting the league for them to be accomplishing what they were accomplishing.
You watch Sosa and McGuire go out there in Bonds and hit the ball. Now, I don't know if they took him or not. I can look and maybe make a, say, something's up here.
Right.
But that didn't keep me from watching the game and be like, wow, did you see him hit that ball? I mean,
and I think part of it was the league said, okay, if we pretend it's not there, it's not there.
Well, think of
because
it like
what
this
they're getting from
the pitcher. Look. Let's have a head in the sand moment. And let's pull it out.
Yeah.
Okay, the sand. And say, oh, well, wow, that's really happening. Okay.
Yeah.
It is arguable that over 9 out of 10 players at that time were doing something,
and not just in baseball,
but especially in baseball, going across the board. I can tell you my brother was going through – both of them were going through college at that time playing ball. And there was a lot of questions about a lot of guys they were playing with that would come back that had contracts or would come back and play that last year that looked drastically different than they did the year before. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about college baseball. What's going on in pro.
College athletes in football.
If you have an opportunity to make it, it may not be the best long-term health decision, but again, people focus on the quality of their life a lot of times, and not the number of years, but the quality years that they have and what they can accomplish and what they need to do to get that done without having maybe standards set or I'm going to do it this way or I'm going to do it that way. Listen, that's up to them. That's on them. Do I agree with that? No, but that's them. The thing about Pete Rose and what Bob's talking about, he's got to go in like today. This is insane. You cannot mention baseball in that era without saying Pete Rose and the Big Red Machine.
I've always said one of the requirements, even though it's indirect, one of the requirements that qualify you for a Hall of Fame is, can I tell the story?
Exactly. That's a great point. You always say that, and that's 100% true. There's no better way to articulate it.
If you can't, then you can't deny.
If you can't tell the story without them, then
that's different.
That's different. Pete Rose, he did not slide into bases. He dove into them.
Yep.
If you're playing on his team, if I'm playing with Pete Rose, man, I'm going, man. Like, I'm all in every day. Every day, I'm going with that guy. I'm getting out there with him.
Right.
I'm throwing with him. I'm competing with him, competing against him in our drills, everything. Somebody like that, it's infectious. infectious. It's contagious. The Big Red.
They didn't call him Charlie Hustle for nothing.
Let me tell you something. This is very arguable, but I'm going to bring it up. You can't say the Big Red Machine would have been a total machine without Pete Rose on that team.
Yeah.
He changed the dynamics. He made everybody around him better. He scared
That's what
pitchers.
great players do
Yes.
in any sport.
They knew, hey, Pete's going to get a base hit here, and he's going to be on second or third. If that ball's in the dirt, he's going to get a big enough jump, and he's going to slide in that base. And if he's going home and the catcher's got the ball or he doesn't have the ball, dude better get out of the way because he's going to kill him.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we pansified some of the game now. Well, based on injuries, you got to do that.
No.
Well, we're playing a sport.
Yep.
All right, so let's get out of our feelings.
That comes with
my thing
risk.
is, I want to make a call. All right, what I would like the High School Athletic Association to do is to take away the pitching rules. Mm-hmm. Okay, I want them gone. Okay, and what I want is I want coaches to be educated. Well, yeah, but they're doing what's best for them. I know very few coaches. All right, and there's always one bad apple out there. But I know very few that do not have the best interest of their players.
Absolutely.
When a kid looks like he gets hurt or has been hit, football the same way.
Yes.
It's not, hey, man, hide him over there and go get him back.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute. They spend all this time with more time with them than they do their own kids, their own family. Mm-hmm. They're not just for a win. We got to stop that crap.
And there's not that there are some, but that is a small minority,
It
not
is, but
the majority.
The problem is this. You have a kid that goes out that has thrown and has good training of the arm and really cares about what they're doing. By putting limits on them, and I'm talking about a standardized limit instead of a limit, the coach knows the kid's limit. He knows whether or not that kid is going to go play professional sports. Mm-hmm. Okay? Is this a major league kid really? Or is this a kid that's probably getting ready to play his last few games of high school ball or Legion ball? Do we really want to cap them on the opportunities that they have to go out and compete based on data and research that are different because God makes us all different? So, and this is the crazy thing. After 105 pitches, you can put the kid at shortstop. Now, let's don't count all the warm-up pitches in the bullpen or between innings, but that 105, that's the number. What in the
that's why they come up with just arbitrary.
That's what I'm saying. And my point is, we brought in surgeons that look at arms. And why don't you bring a surgeon in that's talk to God?
Well,
that way God can say to that surgeon, my child, I have made this kid this way, so this is how many pitches that his body will be able to take, and then you'll need to go in and do your surgery. I'm sorry, I've not seen evidence
going
of that
back
yet.
Going back to where we started.
It's unbelievable, Lanny. And the thing that irritates the dog, it irks me to death, is that we will let kids line up and go out there and bang each other in the head on a Friday night. Mm-hmm. Okay? As much as we got them out there. Now, we watch them, and everybody watches them close. They do a great job, officials and coaches, and even the kids on the team watching each other, trainers, about making sure of concussions. But we let them constantly pound. All right, but yet, this kid can only throw 105 pitches because I'm the most noble person in the world, or because the pitch smart rules say this, and we've got to be better. And no. What you got to do is get the hell out of the way, okay, and let people manage themselves. You have rules to a game. You don't need to put restrictions on kids. And again, I'm not saying that people don't have good intentions. I'm saying that everybody's different.
Well,
and you can't sit there and just throw them all in a thing and say, well, this is what you're going to do, and this is – now I can sleep better at night because I'm older and I've got more experience and I've done the research and I've read this. And don't hand me that crap.
Going back to where we started at the beginning of the show, when I said that based on some of these kids that are coming in because they're hard throwers, they're already accepting the fact, even when they're drafted, that they're going to probably have Tommy Johns just because of the situation that they're in. I think some of these rules will go away because it's not preventing anything, and everybody's already accepting the fact that if I'm going to be at this position and this is going to be my career, here's some of the things that I'm going to have to do.
Yeah, and I've got to go out and throw 100 miles an hour for 2 innings or for an inning so I get looked at instead of me being able to go out and be a pitcher like Greg Maddux, where I have to manage my energy, manage my thoughts, and pitch a whole game. All right. This is the other thing. It takes a hell of a lot more energy, all right, to get a bigger player out in baseball, all right, than it does a smaller player. And again, don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. It's all about management of energy. When you have a smaller player that can't hit the ball out of the park and you're pitching to them, you really don't care, all right, if they –
because you got 8 other people on the field.
But when I got this kid that comes up to the plate and I'm like, oh, my God, he's getting ready to hit this thing out of the park, I got to bear down. Now you're expelling more energy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, I'm not saying the discriminatory, all this. What I'm saying is the point is you have to manage energy based on the perception of the threat, which is most of the time worse than the actual threat, the action itself.
Right.
It's the perception of that. You can't tell me, and you or anybody else that follows sports, in particular baseball, that when Barry Bonds stood up to plate and bases were loaded and you had to pitch to him, that you weren't giving everything you got to try to get him out.
Right.
Now, were you going to get him out? And maybe not. But the point is, it's a lot more than having, the midget that was hired by whoever the Giants or whoever it was to go up there and stand at the plate and draw 4 balls.
Right.
What I'm saying is, there's no more management of the process. It's all about, I got to go out here and throw 90, therefore surgeries are likely going to come a lot sooner. We can think of local players that have had training from day one, 20 and 30 years ago, even through today. But because of the way God made them, and as hard as they threw, all right, that at some point they're going to have surgery to repair that because there's too much stress on the body based on the, just the sheer force of what they're doing. My brother Aaron was a great example. It didn't matter if he threw 20 pitches a week or 290. He was going to have surgery because of the way God made him.
If you switch,
it wasn't Tommy John. It was, for labrum and all that. But the point is, do you think he's going to take away throwing 12 innings in the state championship and winning that? So we'll feel good. And you know what they do in high school? They changed the pitching rules for the state championship. Now, you can't do this all year, but now because you're in the state championship and it's so now you can do this.
It's like everything. It's like everything else. It's going to
smells.
It's going to change.
Good.
It's going to change. It's going to change, and it'll eventually work itself back out.
My thing is, I don't mind trying to be mindful and trying to do the right thing for right reasons, but when you just jump on something like slogans and sayings. We've watched that in politics. I'm voting for this, and I'm voting for that. And they're like, well, I can't believe he's doing that. I said, he told you he was going to do it.
Right.
You can't get mad at him.
Yeah.
You voted for it. Yeah, but I didn't know he's got – you're sitting there chanting stuff, and all of a sudden they start doing it. You're like, I can't believe this. Okay. What are you talking about?
Yep. You're right.
It's the same thing with jumping on the bandwagon with, he's had concussions. We all need to be more aware.
Right.
Take the position of, man, if you got that much time to worry about Tua's head, you got too much time on your hands.
You're
and
right.
You know what? You probably ain't going to be employed very long, which happened to the ones that were more worried about, we got to do this in the name of this and do that. They ain't got jobs anymore because nobody wants to listen to that crap.
Yeah.
Let Tua manage his health. Let him go out and play football or decide not to. Man, it's crazy. You hurt your back. You couldn't play anymore at the level you.
But I made
play.
that decision.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You didn't have a bunch of people sitting over you going,
"Yep,
all right, you can't do this anymore because it might hurt our feelings." That's not what it was about.
Yep.
You were able to talk to your parents, the doctors, all of these things.
Make an educated decision.
Yeah, you decided, you know what? I better shut this down because I can't perform at the level I need to,
right,
or that I want to. I can go perform over here and maybe play at this, but I'm trying to perform at an optimal level. If I can't do that, I'm out.
Yeah.
No. You made that decision.
You're right.
It's unbelievable, dude.
It will happen and it will change because once it gets past, I'm not going to be held responsible for it. As the governing body, that's when they change.
One last thing.
Okay.
And I don't have inside information on the Panthers or anything like that, but I do have some conversations with people that are involved. Apparently the new coach down there is really developing at the next level with Bryce Young, taking it from the college level, which he had very good coaching in college, pro-style coaching, to the next phase and what he's got. So I'm anxious to see where this goes.
Well, and I've always said this, and we get more into it on Thursday. I've always said this, good coaches – and I go back and I've always used Lincoln High School football as an example.
Scott Clark.
They evaluate every year what my talent can do.
Exactly.
And I make a decision on what my team is going to look like based on the capabilities that they have.
So crazy you bring that up. Lincoln High School. Carson Cloninger plays on
right.
Cherville's Legion team, and I was talking to Carson last night before the game. And here we are talking about football. Y'all love our kids, man. I have the best time with all of them. I'm so glad I got to do this. But, we're talking about that, and he's like, yeah, I said, your dad really, just watching film, watching him all those years when I was a younger coach too, and watching how he did things, it really helped me, broaden the base of a fundamental understanding of how to do things and maybe look at what you've got and then try to make things work from that based on not you doing the same thing, but doing what they can do to make them the most successful. And he said, my dad always said you need to know multiple offenses because you never know the group of kids are coming through.
Right.
And you need to be fundamental.
You don't get to pick them.
And he said, and Carson said something at 17 years old that was very, very profound. He said, I don't think you have to be an expert at them, but I think you really need to understand them based on what my dad was telling me. That way you can better serve the serve equals success. Okay, serve the players that you are.
Absolutely.
Coaching. And you know who I see that do that on a nightly basis? Coach Reynolds.
Yeah.
I saw Marshall McDonald do that at Hickory.
He may have things.
With the Legion.
He may have things that he wants to do, but if he doesn't have the kids with the ability, he's not going to do it just because I want to do it. Right. He's going to do whatever maximizes their capabilities to give the most amount of possible success for the team itself and the players.
That's why when somebody, I had a conversation one time with a football coach, and they said, well, this is the only defense. This is the best defense to run. I'm like, based on what? I said, if I put a bunch of 12-year-olds out there, is that the best defense to run now? Well, no. I said, well, wait a minute. What are we talking about? Let's make sure we're running the best set with expansion possibilities with what we're trying to do that complements not only the offensive side but also the special teams.
Sure.
It all has to work together. It's not about dynamic this and fast that and go over here and do, you know what I'm saying?
No.
And, it really didn't upset me, but it made me really think, do we really know what we're talking about here? Do we really? Is this a recipe for success or just instant gratification?
Well, your final results will dictate that.
So it was instant gratification.
No.
The
final.
No. What I'm saying is, to your point, that's what it ended up being was wow, dynamic, this instead of championship style.
Yeah.
That's it.
Have a good day. Stay cool. It's going to be hot.
Pete Rosen, Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. See you Thursday.